So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Like and subscribe, ring that bell, follow us on Twitter at Bad Idea Boys, and check out the Carl B website. We got into contact not too long ago. I offered to kind of give them a shout out on the channel. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much exposure, but they have some pretty cool stuff. It all looked kind of steampunky, kind of the cosplay thing. Really nice quality things, though. There's actually a few things on there that, imagining they're very high quality, but there are a few things that I've been looking at myself. So give it a shot. At least check out their website, see what they have. Might just find something that you enjoy. And that said, let's get to the video. Hey guys, we're back with another brief episode from the Bad Idea Boys. Yeah, everybody has life going on. We're all adults, so we have our own things that we have to do, and we just weren't able to meet up this week again. On that, I talked to some people, got a little bit of feedback on what kind of episode I should do for another brief, quick talk, and apparently Chernobyl has become popular again. Even I, in my boredom, found quite a few videos about it just scrolling through YouTubers that I already watch. So, I'm not really sure where to start. There's a lot of information. So, everybody should know, at this point, at least I would hope so, that Chernobyl was the location of a Russian nuclear power plant. And during the 80s, I believe it was 1986-ish, they had a core meltdown. Now, I guess maybe I should start with what nuclear power plants do. Nuclear power plants use radioactive rods. I believe Chernobyl used uranium. I'm pretty sure they all use uranium. They're radioactive rods that will superheat water. The radiation that they put off causes an excessive amount of heat. So what they do is they put these control rods into the vat with the irradiated rods, and they flush water through it or around it. That causes the water to evaporate, causing pressure, causing electrical generation. Generally, that's the theory behind it. Similar to geothermal energy, just nuclear. So, in the 80s, the scientists at Chernobyl, at least from what I understand, and I could be wrong about this, don't put this on your history paper or anything like that, but from my understanding, is the scientists decided to test the backup cooling system. They removed the control rods, and the backup cooling system didn't function properly, which caused the heat from the radioactive rods to get out of control very, very quickly. There was an explosion, a complete meltdown of, I believe it was their fourth reactor, reactor number 4, to which they denied to the world that it had happened. There was a lot of problem with that. The radioactive cloud, from my research, what I was able to read about and see in videos and documentaries and whatnot, which I watched quite a few, the cloud, parts of it reached as far as the UK. Russia said that everything was fine, that there was no explosion, that there was no nuclear meltdown. Meanwhile, the first group of firemen that rushed in to stop the fires spent, if I'm remembering this right, they spent 2 weeks attempting to put it out, which that much radioactive exposure, you can imagine what would happen to a person. It caused them to avoid the nasty details, they died. There's actually a monument set up for them. They were some very brave men. They weren't, of our country, but a flag doesn't determine how brave you are or not. Russia did make several attempts for containment. Acknowledge they shut down the Chernobyl facility. I did hear, which I probably should have finished doing a little bit more research. Like I said, there was a lot of information to cover. So there may be another video that I do where I touch up on some of this, but from my understanding, they were attempting to build a kind of a dome. Essentially, they were going to disassemble one of the smokestacks and just kind of slide this dome over to contain the radiation. Which so let's say that I'm right, and it happened in 1986. It was a little while before I was born. Uh, Almost 30 years later, um, not quite 30, but we're getting there. Uh, Chernobyl is still highly radioactive. Um, I have seen images of the animal and well the wildlife basically and the humans who survived the exposure, which one of the sources of information that I came across claimed that some of the people who survived are permanently suffering from radioactive sickness, um, which, like I said, it's close to 30 years later, so that's pretty intense. The area is still uninhabitable, um, which so everything radioactive has something called a half-life. That is how long it will take for half of the unstable isotopes to deplete. Um, the the group that I heard that from, I want to say I got this bit of information from Because Science. Um, Everything that I've said up until this point was from a series of various documentaries, far too many to list. So about every day since the recording of the last video, I have watched anywhere from 4 to 6 2 to 2.5 hour documentaries, a substantial amount of information. I'm going to work on, as I do research for information, writing down some of the sources that I'm getting it from, mostly because I'm not trying to steal anything from anybody. This is all historical information. So with that said, Because Science did a segment on radioactivity and half-life, to where, or to which he explained that half-life is half the amount of time it takes an object to revert to a point of essentially being simply lead, rather than uranium or other radioactive materials. 30 years, and Chernobyl is still largely uninhabitable. Um, People don't spend very large amounts of time in the actual facility because it's still very dangerously radioactive. Um, Russian government did make several attempts at helping the people who had suffered. I don't recall hearing anything about consequences that they may have faced due to radiation passing over other countries. I'm sure that there was something done with that. I can't imagine that the French government was too particularly pleased with having a radioactive cloud pass over them, whether there was a lot of damage or not. Honestly, with that said, I think that's about the limit of the information that I'm confident with going over. There is a lot more information out there. I encourage doing some research. Personally, I enjoy watching a few channels specifically. I would recommend looking into Thoughty2 and Because Science Both are great sources of information if you are just bored and want to learn something. Um, so, that said, that'll be it. Y'all have a great day.